Let's bring in Zig Fracassi now, SiriusXM NFL Radio. Hey, Ziggy. It's the Oilers and the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. Your thoughts, sir?
Rod, great to be with you. And by the way, congrats on the 5 years. It's been a privilege to be part of the show and, more importantly, as your friend. I guess from the Florida standpoint, I'm not surprised simply because I think they're the best team in the East. They showed that throughout that withering, style that they play, the forecheck. It's akin to the full court press in basketball or a blitz on every down in football. A lot of teams can't handle that, so they're deserving. And Edmonton, I think I've made my comments known about them being the serial lottery abusers. But hey, in the end, they got the job done. Skinner stole in that game last night because I thought Dallas thoroughly outplayed them. But the special teams were the difference. Edmonton getting their goals that way and preventing Dallas when they had the man advantage. So I think when it's all said and done, it should be a pretty good Stanley Cup final. And if you got your frequent flyer miles, you're going to be getting those over the next 2 weeks.
Largest distance in games, you're right, in Stanley Cup playoff history. Two furthest apart locales, however you want to say it. Zig, I'm not sure I ever told you, but we do air on the radio in Atlanta daily, WQEE 99.1 FM. We're Atlanta's NHL show, but it's a tremendous NFL town. And it's not like we haven't talked about Kirk Cousins a million times and Michael Penix, but and probably you too, but I haven't talked to you about it. How do you expect the Falcons quarterback situation to unfold and play out in 2024?
Well, let's hope, first of all, Rod, that Cousins is healthy. I mean, he is still coming back from that torn Achilles, so all the indications appear that he's going to be okay. So, but let's make it clear. Penix is there to push him, and he's going to be the starter at some point. Now, one thing we got to watch for this week, the ESPN report came out yesterday. We were talking about this on NFL radio, is that a ruling is coming probably this week, potentially with tampering charges involving the Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. In Philadelphia's case, with Saquon Barkley, because apparently in that instance, Barkley's former Penn State coach, Franklin, had a chat with Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, which is apparently against the rules because this was before free agency. In Atlanta's case, Cousins had made comments at his press conference about talking with trainers and other people before he officially signed. So, Rod, we could be looking at significant sanctions against the Atlanta Falcons, which leads to the point then, if the league winds up taking away draft picks, including a first-round pick, maybe that makes more sense as to why they selected Penix in the first round instead of going for a defensive end, per se, in this year's draft.
Are you of the mind, though? Let's just assume, whatever. Draft picks is a big deal, but for this year's team, do you think all they were missing was a quarterback and that this will make them part of the conversation in that division, or are they nowhere in the ballpark?
No, they're right there. I think with their skill set and, the new coach and everything like that, I think they definitely are one of the favorites in the NFC South. My point is, if they were going to lose, say, a 2025 first-round pick, then why not grab the quarterback now? And, yeah, you still need defensive help, but you could get that, which they did through the draft. And let's not forget, Rod, we're chatting early June here. You may see some further cuts coming now from the teams around the National Football League. So the Falcons could conceivably get a veteran should he become available. That's what I'm saying here. I think that's why they wanted to jump the gun a little bit and draft Penix in the first round this year.
Trent in Norway says, question for Zig, can the Vikings spend their way to the top this year?
Well, they did today. Justin Jefferson, 4-year deal, $140 million. I think over $110 million guaranteed, which makes him, I think, the highest non-quarterback paid, highest at his position. So it's clear that they think this kid is a true game breaker. Now, who gets him the ball this year, Rod, remains to be seen, because as we sit right now in early June, it's Sam Darnold. Remember, the former third overall pick by the Jets. although they did draft J.J. McCarthy, so it's going to be interesting to see they're an interesting team. I'm not sure they're at the crossroads, but you got to wonder when the J.J. McCarthy era starts in Minnesota, but he'll have a outstanding target to work with Justin Jefferson.
Well, you're on NFL radio. You've been around the teams. The very first thing I thought when they drafted J.J. McCarthy is, what are they going to do with the nicknames? I would think Justin Jefferson's JJ1 and the quarterback's JJ2, but I don't know. That's the kind of confusion that goes on with a team, right?
Yeah. We'll call him JJ1 and 1A. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Depends who's playing better. We know who's being paid more. BW in Edmonton has a question that I didn't even know this was a thing. He goes, Zig, any real chance of the Kansas City Chiefs moving? They got no money for a new stadium in KC. What's the murmurs on that?
Well, there's been some buzz. I think this Dallas, the mayor of Dallas, wanted to consider them. How about this, Rod? Moving back to where they were born back in 1960, because they were the Dallas Texans originally, and that they apparently were trying to lure them, but they're going to stay in Kansas City. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Now, whether they wind up doing a complete remodel of Arrowhead Stadium remains to be seen. Are they going to still be in tandem with the Royals like they have been with that Truman Sports Complex the last 50 years? I think there's a lot to be done there. So it'll be interesting to see how much, Missouri lawmakers chip in, Kansas City themselves, how much they get in. But I don't think there's any chance that the Chiefs ultimately move out of Kansas City. They're just too entrenched.
My gosh, this goes so fast. But I got to ask you about the Dolphins. I see all the money they're spending on offensive players. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle extended. I don't see them investing a lot on defense. We were discussing this last week. Are they ahead of the curve? That the priority in the NFL is offense now with the restrictions put on defensive play and the tackling? Like, how do you feel about where they're spending their money with the Finns?
Well, I think anymore, Rod, you're looking at the NFL is a changing game in terms of the offense. Instead of it being run now, our former Vikings GM Rick Spielman, who's a colleague of ours on NFL radio, made the point the other day. A lot of teams are using 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, and you spread out the field with three wides. Hence, more emphasis now is going to be put on the receiving game. And if you've already got an A guy like Tyreek Hill in Miami, you want to keep your 1A guy. Hence, they got Jalen Waddle in on the extension, which actually, Rod, is an extension on his current rookie deal. So the big money's not going to really kick in now for another couple of years. So that's where the emphasis is going. Defensively, they had a couple big losses, obviously, Wilkins being the biggest. Van Ginkel was another one that came to mind, but I think they're going to be okay. They had Poyer from Buffalo, who I think is going to add some veteran savvy to that mix. Gallimore, late of the Cowboys, is more of a depth guy, but it'll be interesting to see what ultimately happens there with the Miami Dolphins. I still think they're maybe looking up a little bit, even though the Bills have had a lot of transition. Buffalo probably still the team to beat in the AFC East.
What an interesting division, and we haven't even talked about Aaron Rodgers, and we'll save that for another day. Zig, I'm so glad you were part of this big show today. Yeah, what do you got?
We got to remember Larry Allen, bro. He passed today. Yeah.
Icon.
Great.
Absolute
the great
icon.
Cowboys. Yeah, the great Cowboys offensive lineman, Rod, apparently passed away on a family vacation in Mexico. 52 years old, 11-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first-teamer, Super Bowl champ. Still have that visual, Rod, his rookie year, chasing down Darian Connor of the Saints on that Aikman interception. Maybe the most physically dominant lineman I have ever seen. So rest in peace, Larry Allen.
Yeah, that's a really sad story, and I appreciate you bringing that up amongst us Cowboys fans. All right, Zig, enjoy the sports, man. Chat soon.
Here's another 5 years, Rod, and save that money for my Grey Cup trip, all right?
Bingo! All right, my friend. Sounds good. We'll be watching the Jonas Brothers at Grey Cup in Vancouver. Great place to go to watch a Grey Cup.